Hey, it's Mosquito, also known as Chris. Welcome to the shop and welcome to whatever this is. Chaos, I guess. But yeah, so this is an InWin A1, or at least most of it. And I do plan on modding this case. Well, okay, so I am modding this case. I intend to mod this case even more. But in my first part, I kind of did the simple mod. So basically just sort of took a 240 radiator, drilled, 8 holes, stuck some fans on it. Actually worked pretty well. In this iteration, I'm going to do a little bit more work. I'm doing similar amounts of water cooling, but I'm also going to try and do a top window mod. Not sure if I'm going to make my own custom reservoir or not. We'll see about that one, see how that works out. Put in a radiator in the bottom still, and then see if I can get a couple of GPUs in this thing too. But yeah, so the continuity is going to be really bad for this first part. I've been working on this mod for at least a year, so you're probably going to see me go from shorts and a t-shirt to sweatshirt and long pants, and things in the shop are going to change around. Some machines are actually new since then, or since I started. Some machines have been sold and are no longer here. Some things like the scaffolding is over in the corner now, all packed up. But regardless, the point is I'm intending to get all of this stuff in there. I've got it all scattered across the table, just sort of testing things out, I guess. Testing out a setup. It's a little bit of a non-conventional setup. I'm going to try and run 2 graphics cards in this ITX case. So that's kind of the whole intent. And so the point of this test setup was using the radiator with all the hardware, which is a Ryzen 3700X, 32 gigs of RAM, M.2 SSD, maybe a 2.5-inch SSD depending on how things are working. And then I've got a pair of 760s. Yes, you heard me correctly. A pair of 760s. I've literally had these things since new, and I've never actually used them in anything more than just temporary systems, reviews, testing out random stuff, taking pictures, that kind of crap. So yeah, that's why I have these. The other reason is because finding ITX cards is actually pretty hard with the newer items. So I do have a pair of Vega 56 Nanos, I guess. Technically they're Sapphire Pulse cards, but that I have water blocks for. And I actually have one. The other one is in my desktop right now, which is actually right behind the camera. And I might try these in there because I've been having some issues with these 760s. I don't know if it's driver related, if it's the cards. I don't think it's the cards because I've tested each one of them individually and they seem fine. I don't think it's motherboard. I don't think it's SSD anymore. I'm really not sure what it is because I've had it before where I've been able to do folding at home for like an hour and it worked fine the whole time. Like, it worked great. I've also been able to use DaVinci Resolve to transcode some video, and that also worked great. But then I've also had it just sit there and lock up every couple of minutes for a couple of seconds, and sometimes the screen would go black, and then it would come back, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. So I'm still doing a little bit of troubleshooting around all that, but nevertheless, we're going to continue on with the mod, figure out the hardware later, and I guess we'll just go from there and see how this goes. So yeah, let's get on with it, or let's get back to it. Let's pick up where we just watch this stuff. Just, yeah. So the first idea that I had was I wanted to try and get a window on the top of the case. However, the top of the case is tempered glass. So I was operating under the assumption that it was probably just stuck down. So I started using my heat gun and very, very gently prying with a flat blade screwdriver. And I actually do more of a twisting motion, you can kind of see here, than I do a prying motion, but was eventually able to get that done. It took about 10 minutes, I think. And then I noticed that there was this kind of weird plastic film on the back of it, and as it turns out, that is for just keeping light from being able to pass through the painted surface. And so, yeah, pulled off that, and there was still paint. I was kind of hoping that wasn't the case, but took some denatured alcohol and just a paper towel and cleaned up all the adhesive residue that was still stuck on there from that plastic film. So then I tried getting the paint off. Tried some citrus strip. That didn't work. Tried a wire wheel, some sandpaper, about 3 hours. That's all I got. Always have a plan B, folks. So well, I guess this is a plan B. I've just got some, as it turns out, I think it's 3/16 inch thick acrylic. And I just traced out the shape from that top panel. Just kind of cutting that out for now. So now I basically have a template underneath a piece of plywood, and I'm just using some carpet tape, some double stick tape, a little bit stronger than your standard stuff. And I have that top piece that I had rough cut to size on the bandsaw, and I'm lining that up. I already did kind of a test with the router already, but get that all lined up and then stuck down on the carpet tape. And now I'm at this is called an overarm pin router. And basically there's a pin in the table, and that runs along a template underneath and then routes out the top. So basically I used the old top panel, stuck it to the top of this, flipped it over, glued some MDF to the bottom, and then ran it around, basically what I'm doing here, to trim up the template to the size of the top panel. And now I can just make these panels over and over again. And I'm pretty sure it took me like a week to clean up all those chips. If you've ever routed acrylic. So then I remove that top panel from that template, and we can kind of see here how that lines up perfectly with the existing top panel. And then I don't have the top IO shield thing screwed in place, but this is just to kind of show what that would be like. So it fits pretty well. So basically I used a tinted acrylic because I thought it would kind of match the side window, the one on the side of the case that came with it. It has just, you know, kind of that dark glass look. So basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to paint the bottom of this except for where I want the window. So let's get to that window. Just going to use the rotary tool here and yeah, just kind of cut out what I taped to. And then you clean up the ugly with a file. Don't skimp on this part, because this is what makes it look good. At least when you're not the best with a rotary tool like me. Then we can peel back all the protective tape. Probably didn't need all that, but I wasn't sure if I was going to use the rotary tool or the jigsaw, so I just decided to mask off a bunch of it so I wouldn't have to worry about scratching it. All right, so this is the original top shape, I guess. So I just took the glass one, as you saw, made this exact copy, beveled the edge. This one is the one that you just saw me make. What I did was take the paper, left it on there, and essentially just made a copy of the original panel. The reason that I wanted to make the copies of the original panel is I made this window hole because I want to be able to see in the top of it, because why not? And I didn't really have a need for a wireless charger in the top of my computer case. So the intention was to take the acrylic and then paint the back side of it, leaving basically a hole for the window. So I did do a test, and so this was the prototype. I used gray paint just because that's what I had, and I was trying to experiment with a couple different colors. But so this is the same panel without the bevels around it, but I'd have to do a little bit better job. This one I had already peeled the paper off, so there's a little bit of overspray on the back side. But basically I just taped off this square and then painted it gray. So I painted it gray first, and then I painted it black. And the reason for the black is because there's a lot of holes in the top of the case here. So like, too much stuff. So all these holes and screw holes and rivets and stuff would show right through if it was just white, because I tried that first. So what I did was, if I paint it and then paint it with black, black doesn't let the light through as well. So you don't see all those holes when you're done. But this was kind of the first prototype, and it worked okay, but trying to get a good square, it just, yeah. So I have that one. I also have, this was an acrylic, or a tinted acrylic that I had also done, just experimenting to see if that would maybe match the actual existing side panel a little bit better. And it does. Like, it actually matches the side panel fairly well, and I do like that look for the tinted window, but again, I'd still have to be able to tape it. So one of the things, since I did that first attempt on that overarm pin router, which I've actually since sold, but that's neither here nor there, I have actually purchased a CNC. So this was attempt number 2, or idea number 2. So I measured out, mocked up the panel, and then made this one. And it's basically just another panel, same exact shape. But what I did was routed out these grooves, or rabbets, I guess technically, halfway through in the shape of the window that I'm going to have. And because I was doing it with the CNC, I decided to match the angle on the bottom of the I/O shield here. So just a little bit of an interesting window shape. But the other part was I used the same half the thickness on this edge. So now what I can do is have a window that basically just snaps into place. And so what I can do is I can paint this part separately. And here, this is probably a little bit easier to see on camera. So this is the quote-unquote better one. This one is kind of the prototype one, I guess, unless I don't use it as a prototype and I actually use it as a whole thing. But anyway, the panel here is, exactly like that one I was showing. But then what it allows me to do is snap this right into place, and then I'll glue that in, and then I can have a window exactly the way I want it, right on the top in that cutout. And what it also allows me to do is have a clear acrylic top, but then this is actually smoked acrylic, but I haven't peeled the paper off of it. So I can just interchange windows if I want to, and I can still have my smoked acrylic window, but then have the white painted top. So that's where that is. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet. Another option is I could just make a really thin covering for this out of like either aluminum or just another thin piece of acrylic that is actually white, and then just attach the other part to it. But I guess we'll figure that out once I get there. Probably going to end up using the CNC one just because it's a little bit cleaner of, well, just cleaner of an execution, I guess. And I like the idea of being able to just have a perfectly unpainted window rather than having to deal with masking it off and all of that. But the other thing, and that's why I have this other one too, is I did pocket out space for some magnets that I glued in there. So if I really wanted to, I could, in theory, make the top magnetic, and then I could have multiple different tops if I felt like it, since it would be fairly easy to just, you know, swap them out if I wanted to. So yeah, that's about where that stands. All right, so I think that's pretty much going to wrap this one up. I'll leave it off there. I do have a little bit more progress than that, I guess, as far as updates. I have a couple more parts that I've made that I'll probably end up going through in the next video, but I don't want to make this one too long. But the other thing too is that this one is actually running fairly true to where I'm actually at the moment. So if you have any ideas, I would love to hear those in the comments. I always read those, and you know, even if I don't do them, I still at least see them. Would be great if you subscribed, hit the like button, do all that fun stuff. Share it if you know of anybody that's working on an InWin A1. If they have any ideas, it would be awesome to hear those. Just kind of a fun thing to do. I'm stuck here at home right now, so yeah, getting some good shop time in. So anyway, that'll do it for this one. Much appreciated for everybody that stuck around this far, and I will catch you on the next one.